Great. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're as excited as I do, because right now upcoming is a panel discussion on how to enter international markets, especially on Russia and China. Now, joining the panel, I really tried my best not to stand in front of the speakers, but hey, like things happen. So joining today the session will be moderated by Oliver Prothmann, the President of Bundesverband Onlinehandel, EBE, BVOH, which is the German Federation Association of Online Trade. Excuse me for my German. And then we had, joining Oliver, there will be 4 of guest speakers who will be in the panel discussion as well. So Dominik Johnson is the Director Key Account Manager for Yandex Europe. He will be also speaking in the slot of 2:40. Also speaking on the slot of 3:20 is Nenad Cetkovic, which is the Chief Operating Officer of Lengow. At 4, we also had Roman Decker, Project Manager from Schneider Group, to speak to us as well. So all about 3 speakers who will be presenting in the after lunch sessions are here. Joining the 3 speakers are Steven Morell, which is a Senior Account Director from AX Semantics. So I'm looking forward to an exciting and probably challenging discussion among you. So I'll pass the stage to Oliver.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So now we go on. Thank you for being here. We will try to get a little bit more information about the Russian market and the China market. And additionally he introduced me that I'm the president of BVOH. I also will publish a study about marketplaces across the world at the end of this month. So hopefully I can also add some insights about the marketplaces and the ranking of the marketplaces, especially of the marketplaces in Russia and in China. So as you can see in the left hand view from my side, it's Roman Decker, Project Manager of Schneider Group. And the Schneider Group is your one-stop partner for any back office service you need to expand in Russian-speaking countries and Poland, and especially Roman as a project manager in the import and e-commerce department. And he's responsible for clients acquisition and project manager. So if you want to start in Russia or if you want to grow in Russia, he's the man to look at. Next to him, you can see Nenad Cetkovic. He's the Chief Operation Officer of Lengow. In my more than 15 years of marketplaces experience, Lengow is one of the best multi-channel management tools, in particular for cross-border marketplace sellers. So if you want to manage your business on marketplaces, let's have a look on Lengow. It's a tool, and Nenad is the Chief Operation Officer and in charge of thousands of clients in more than 40 countries. So he is here especially as the expert for China. Next to him, we have Dominik Johnson as the Director Key Account Development of Yandex. Yandex is the biggest search engine in Russia, like Google in Europe, and one of the largest internet companies in Europe. Next to search engines, there are also price comparison sites and marketplaces as well. In the marketplaces across the world ranking, Yandex Marketplace is number 22 in the world. Dominik develops the company partnerships with leading brands and digital agencies. So, Dominik is one of the German's top 10 managers according to the German leading marketing magazine Werben und Verkaufen. So he knows everything about marketing on the internet. And last but not least, Steven Morell. Steven, he's the growth hacker, and so he's responsible for the growth of the AX Semantics. AX Semantics generates unique content within seconds. So the software creates content for your website and item descriptions in multiple languages. And Steven is the one who is responsible for the growth of AX Semantics, and he's, for example, also a guest lecturer at Palo Alto University in Silicon Valley. So he knows everything about key and something like that regarding with the content thing. And you all know that content is king. So let's start, and I would like to start and ask the first question more or less to everybody, because the first question is to have a look on the new market, Russia and China. What is the main difference, and we would start here, what is the main difference of Russian marketplaces versus Amazon and eBay in Europe?
Regarding the Russian market, it is a very, in comparison to the German one or the European one, a very young market. It just started to develop. It started in Moscow and St. Petersburg, and just the last 1 or 2 years, they started to develop also the regions. But anyway, it showed the last years a double-digit growth of more than 10-20%. Like the last 2 years, the growth was at 26%. So very high potential market. But the whole services regarding fulfillment, delivery, and so on, payment options, they just started to develop in the last couple of years. So compared to the German market, actually, the share of, for instance, of the retail industry, the e-commerce market is at 2.8-2.9% now. So compared to Germany, for instance, here we have 11.6 or 0.7. So very, very, a lot of space to deliver, high potential. In Europe at all, it is about 8 or 9% actually share. So very compromising, very, very high potential market for the future. And maybe Dominik has
Thank you,
something to add.
Roman. So Nenad, what do you think is the main difference, especially in the China market versus the European market?
The market, Russia and China are quite different on their own, by the way. Russia, to complete what you say, is very similar to Amazon and eBay. For merchants who want to go to Russia in terms of product catalog and product contents, you can do with your own and existing content very easily to move to Russia. To China, it's completely different. Completely different because if you want to go to the main places, which are Tmall, which is a marketplace from Alibaba, or Jingdong International, which is the main competitors, you have to rethink completely your content, you have to rethink completely your pictures, so you really need to start almost from scratch your product catalogs. And to be able to do that, you need to handle a situation with local partners. Alibaba has defined its own network called Tmall Partners, and you have to work through these guys and rely on these guys to be able to localize your content. So it's beginning to be very tough for international actors who want to go without being in China themselves, to go cross-border with these main marketplaces. Of course, aside from the big actors we everybody know, like JD or Alibaba, there is more and more vertical marketplaces which may fit the needs and may give you a taste of what the Chinese market may look like. I think about in the fashion area, people like Shoe.com or Changpin. This is less known marketplaces, but which can make huge volumes compared to our European measure and benchmarks. But let's say that really, when you go to China, it has nothing to do with what you know about marketplaces. You have to rethink completely your strategy about it.
Okay, thank you. So, from Yandex side, what do you think is the main difference from doing e-commerce at Yandex or in Russia versus with the European one, Amazon and eBay?
Oh, thank you very much. I'm very honored that I can speak in this fantastic panel to this great audience. The main difference maybe is that Russians love to have the freedom of choice in the...
Take the other one. I'll take this one.
We love also to fix technical issues very fast, like this one. And the freedom of choice, I mean, Russians can choose between 2 search engines. Yandex is, of course, the most popular search engine in Russia, but also in marketplaces is very different. The one thing where Western brands has a huge opportunity to go to Russia is the market penetration. It's still very low. So if we compare, for example, 147 million Russians only 82 million Russians are currently online. Then you have an uplift within online users itself. And then also from this 80 million people, only 30 million had bought something on the internet. So you have, even with the online audience, a huge uplift, which is more than 2 digits. So this is fantastic for e-commerce. But it's very different to Western Europe in terms of behavior, but I think there come more questions afterwards.
Okay, thank you, Dominik. So, especially on the content side, so what is the difference you have to think about when you're going to the Russian market or to the China market?
Well, I'm the last in the order, so I will take the counter position and say, generally, every market is the same. If you have figured something out that works, whether it's e-commerce or any other type of startup, once you have figured out how to solve the problem, there's a good chance it might work on other markets. But, and here I'm with all of you, every market is also very different because of their cultural differences. So one might think that I have a great product, great service, I'm solving a great problem. It works in my market. I just have to translate that into any other language, and then I'm ready to go. And that's probably not going to work. I think the biggest challenge is really to understand the differences in thinking in different markets. My experience in China was a whole different planet. I made very modest attempts to try to learn the language, and if you just do it for 2 or 3 hours, you realize the thought model behind this is entirely different. So it's not about translating content, it's really transporting content into the local culture.
Okay, thank you. So before we come to the main question about how to enter the market, I would like to understand a little bit more the market. So maybe Roman or especially Nenad can explain what will be the best channel to do e-commerce in Russia or in China? So is it your own shop or is it with the marketplaces? So what kind of e-commerce channels are the best for Europe sellers to start?
There are several actually channels in Russia. First to say, the e-commerce market is really dominated by the Alibaba Group with 55%. So the biggest marketplace is AliExpress. Actually, regarding the channel from Europe, there are a lot of interesting marketplaces now developed in Russia, like Ozone is kind of similar to Amazon. They also have their own distribution channels for partners as well as own distribution channels for own products and other marketplaces. So there are distributors who can distribute your product, but also now within the last 2 years, companies started to providing also white label models. So they are really offering the whole distribution channel based on your online shop. So they're importing the goods and distribute them within Russia. And this is just starting to develop there because actually cross-border sales are very popular in Russia. So direct deliveries from the foreign online shop to the local online shop to the local consumer, because the allowance, tax-free allowance is now in Russia at 1,000 euros or maximum 31 kilograms. So if your customs value, and this means the value of the product, plus the transport costs and insurance till the Russian border is under 1,000 euro, you can ship directly to the consumer in Russia without paying import VAT or customs payments. And this is a very convenient situation now for the foreign online shops actually to ship directly. In Germany we have a threshold of about 22 euros, as I remember. And that's why it is very convenient to ship directly. And that's why there are upcoming regulations in the Russian market who will lower this allowance. Now is the plan to lower it next year to 500 and then to 200 euros in 2019. But the government is still, or the local actually companies and the Association of Internet Trade Companies, AKIT, is pushing for speeding up to reduce this allowance to stop this cross-border sales and also promote the localization of the production, so via distributors or actually white label models.
Okay, thank you. So, Nenad, what do you think are the best channels in China?
Channels to go to Russia and China is quite difficult. For example, if we go to Russian part, and Dominik will contradict me if I'm wrong, but the main marketplaces who are selling cross-border in China, one of them is first AliExpress, but this is unfortunately a marketplace which is not available except if you are a Chinese seller, so you can't use this channel. The other ones are Amazon and eBay. I think everybody knows here, so I don't know to explain about that. This is international, so you have the real choice is to go on local actors who have today a huge audience, and of course Yandex is one of the key actors on this approach. In China, it's globally quite different. I told you before, if you look at the market share of Alibaba and Jidong, according to the sources, depending on the years, let's say it's between 75 to 80% of the market, which means where you Chinese, you sell onto these marketplaces and you have done the business. We come to a stage where in China, it's very often not relevant to have your own website because the branded websites are making something like, I think, 3 to 4% of the market in sales. So making a site, making all the efforts to appear on, I remember a search engine which are purely Chinese, like Baidu. It's a long task, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of effort. And very often what we see with our clients, we have today something like 3,000 brands in more than 40 countries, who sells globally. Those who have made the test are very often disappointed, except if you put a lot of resources, a lot of local resources to work on that, it's disappointing. So the strategy really goes through marketplaces. And for that, the key point is to go on the major ones, but, there is a but, China is closing these biggest marketplaces. When you go to Alibaba, Tmall, or when you go to JD, if you do not have a Chinese subsidiary, you need to go to the smallest part of the marketplace, which is Tmall International and Jingdong International. These parts are representing, let's say, 10% of the global audience of the marketplace. So this is something sometimes people ignore, but to be on Tmall itself, you need to be Chinese. You need to have a Chinese subsidiary, and you'll be able to ship directly from China, which often is not a good way to start in a country where it's so expensive. So a lot of people try for the international part, and then try to see if they can expand. In that aspect, working on the international part of Tmall and Jingdong, even if it's 10% of the market, it's huge. We have an example of, for example, a luxury goods seller who sells in a one day, which is 11/11, the equivalent of a quarter of revenue in Europe.
Okay, so maybe you can a little bit explain if you say Alibaba, so most of the time it's mean Alibaba Group, so they have different huge marketplaces like Taobao, like AliExpress, like Tmall and Alibaba.com. So maybe you can a little bit explain what these different marketplaces are.
Very simply, yes. They recreated totally the internet ecosystem which exists outside with Chinese brands. So Taobao, let's see it like some kind of eBay, okay? AliExpress is a tool dedicated to Chinese producer and manufacturer to sell their goods without having a website. But it's purely destined to Chinese producer. For example, in my last figures I have, I think AliExpress brought to Europe more than 140,000 Chinese producer and merchants through AliExpress. And these guys are overwhelming at the moment a lot of marketplaces too. Tmall Global is a Hong Kong version of Tmall, which is open to European merchants who want to sell in China without having a subsidiary in China with Chinese teams and Chinese stocks. For that, they have developed a lot of facilities like duty-free zones where you can ship your product and then they will send an order per order and so on. And Tmall is a main marketplace. It's a main jewel of the galaxy, which is the biggest marketplace, which is the Amazon somewhere. Even if they said they are very different from Amazon, but this is the Amazon. The key issue is all these platforms are a combination between technical things you have to do with local actors, their own platform, and a lot of marketing, because if you really want to exploit the power of these big marketplaces in China like JD and Tmall, you have to invest after pushing your catalog to them, you have to invest in marketing, and marketing, it's cost per click, and it's a big investment which should be considered in the second stage when you know about the development. Aside from that, you have vertical marketplaces, much more easier to do, and which are much more similar to marketplaces, for example, like Zalando, or these kind of things, which are really more ready to take your product catalog as it is, with your product description, your shipping, your logistic. Because, for example, on Tmall, you should ship wherever it is in China in less than 20 days. If you do not ship 2 times, you're banned.
Okay, thank you very much. Coming back to Russia, so Yandex also have a e-commerce channel like Market Yandex, and price comparison site for the online shops. So what do you think is in Russia the main important channels to do e-commerce?
So the main important channels, I would transfer it a little bit differently. As a foreign store, I would go to such a conference like e-commerce Berlin and talk to Roman or Nenad, because they are talking with us a lot how to do fulfillment, or for example shopping feeds. Shopping feeds you can fully automate and then send those products into marketplaces. Like we have one marketplace, it's called Yandex Market. With Yandex Market, like with many platforms on the net, is all about trust, and the user or our audience or the Russians are trusting us by 85%. So this is a quite high trust signal for brands. And I know, for example, Germany is trust very important as well. Beside that, you should know that only 5% of Russians, maybe a little bit more, speak a second language. So if you say your shop is not localized, but you would like to attract Russian audience, there are several chances how to do it. You could, for example, develop a landing page in Russian, send traffic via advertisements or other platforms to those landing page, and mention our goods are, or our descriptions are in German, French, English, whatever. Those Russians who want to buy those goods, they will. And the reason for that is because some of those goods are not available in Russia, for example. Or you have to imagine some of those goods are much more expensive than, for example, in Paris. Therefore, for example, we have as well shoppers who fly from China or Russia to Paris shopping week because it's much more less expensive. This is one thing. The other is with Yandex Market. We have more than 20,000, even more than 20,000, I can share this figure officially, merchants or partners, and we sell, or you can find more than 130 million products on Yandex Market. This is a huge range. So currently, bless you. So currently, Russians are very price sensitive. So if you take a look, 2016, 2015, what happens to the ruble course? People lost a lot of money and they became more price sensitive. So up to 37, 40%, people are looking after prices. If you're aware of this, you can play with your price, setting, for example, special days where you lower this price by 20%. Before that, you can, of course, raise the price or take a look how the marketplace itself is. I know we have in Western Europe a huge discussion about same-day delivery or the best you click, and at the same time the ring bells at your door and the postman standing with the parcel. This is simply not possible in Russia. So you have two different spheres. You have Moscow and St. Petersburg as the main hubs. So if you enter the market, focus on Moscow and St. Petersburg first, because then you can take a look if this audience accepted your product. And the second, the rest of Russia. And if you can imagine, the sun is rising in the east, and when people are waking up for example, in Moscow, and you target, for example, the Far East, like the border to China, maybe your marketing budget is already wasted or spent. Hopefully you get the orders or the conversions, but usually people come to me and saying, like, we are not selling anything in Moscow. How this can happen? Of course, if you advertise 6,000 kilometers in the east, there are a lot of people looking for your products, and they are not buying those products. For same delivery, you don't have to be afraid of, because Russians are not willing to accept that it must be delivered within the next minute. Maybe this is a topic for Moscow, but it's not a topic of rest of Russia. Also, think of different payment methods. It's very important on that, but maybe we come to this a little bit later.
Yeah, thank you, Dominik. So, but there was a very important point regarding the trust topic, that you need to build up trust, and content is one of the main things to build up trust. How do you build up trust with your content roboters?
Well, I think each of us has come to a website at some point in our internet history and was inclined to buy something, till we discovered that the text just doesn't really make sense. Hands up to whom that happened. I'm the only one over there. Like, really, no one? Okay, that's surprising. At any rate, I believe if you come to a website and you read the product description and it sounds edgy and not really liquid and nice and convincing, I mean, sales copy is really the trigger. If you have good sales copy, Groupon is a great example. The success of Groupon is built on fantastic sales copy. So if you want to achieve good sales copy, in the end, you need a human being to come up with a great story. And that story needs to be multiplied over hundreds or thousands or even millions of product descriptions. And this is where we come into play. This is, you need to generate a text training, which needs to be done by somebody who understands the culture, understands the language, can come up with the right rule set, and then multiply this into the thousands or even millions of really high-performing sales copy.
So do you have any experience regarding enter the Russian or Chinese market with the English language description and changing to the Russian or Chinese language description? So what kind of conversion rates?
Well, we do offer Mandarin as one of the 16 languages that we support currently. We are working to support 42 languages by the end of the year. So we're constantly adding new languages. We do support Russian, we do support Mandarin. I'm not sure I'm even allowed to talk about conversion rate, but what we do is we have a machine learning part. And I cannot underline how important it is to keep learning while you go. Do the do, measure, learn loop, do A/B split testing. And what our system does is you can hook it up to any KPI like conversion rate, like Google ranking or Yandex ranking. And then the engine will learn which text training performs better and can automatically optimize the rest of your sales copy and product descriptions to perform better according to the KPIs.
Okay, thank you very much. So maybe we can really jump in this topic. We also with the name of this discussion. So how to enter the markets. So what are the most important 3 topics to know or to understand before starting in Russia, doing e-commerce in Russia? What do you think?
So actually, based on information that I am also specialized in import and certification issues, I would say definitely Okay, starting from the import, you have to know that every good has a certain customs tariff number, and they are different than the European ones or all over the world. And this is an issue which is facing every company, and a bigger issue than in the rest of the world, actually, because the customs clearance is more complex than anywhere. And there's you need time for it. You have to prepare, you have to analyze the products, understand what certification is necessary for it, and that should be done before importing the goods and distributing them. And this all can take in Russia up to 3-4 months, actually, because there are different types of certificates. You can't use the European ones, different types, different customs tariff numbers, and this whole process takes time, actually. And once your goods is in Russia, then it is actually much easier to distribute them. Then it's actually depending on your marketing strategy. As already was said, focus first on Moscow and St. Petersburg, because actually the share of the demand of the whole e-commerce market in Russia is in Moscow is over 50% of the demand is in Moscow, about another 15 to 20 in St. Petersburg, and the rest of the regions takes about 10-15%. So really focus on these two markets or these two cities, and then just go further, actually. And then, yeah, what technical parts else? Actually, this is what you have to focus on, and the rest is really a marketing thing, like what I think Dominik has meant to say.
So Nenad, I think there will be a lot of clients using Lengow who wants to start new markets, especially because they have your tool. So what experience do you have, what they have to think about when they are starting in the new areas like Russia or especially in China?
Yeah, cross-border, we know because today, I would say probably 90% of our clients are selling cross-border, which means we have a Spanish client selling to Latin America, here to Germany, up to Asia, and every direction. So it's a topic we know very well. The key issue about selling to China is, I join you about, first is really logistic and the customs, which is clearly a domain where you should learn before going there. Content is important, and I think you'll probably come back on that. But just keep in mind that a product description, as you see it, for example, on Zalando, has nothing to do with a product description you will see on Tmall. Chinese people want to read, and when I say they want to read a lot, which means for a simple dress, you can have up to 5 pages of descriptions, and you need 12 to 15 pictures. So I let you imagine in your own situation how it fits. I hope you don't sell pen, because it will be tough to achieve this level of description. So this must be done locally. Payment is not an issue, because if you want to go to China, you have to go through Alipay. We did not talk about Alipay, but let's say that there is some specificities, for example, with payment on delivery in Russia. In China, it's much more specific. If you don't want Alipay, don't go to China. So this is not an issue at the end. And the key issue about all that is that all these topics will be handled by a partner, a local partner, which is introduced to you by the marketplaces. They let you choose. They will send you 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 partners saying, these guys know exactly your sector, this guy is a European actor. Then you will start the first Skype. In 45 minutes, you just succeeded to introduce yourself with 5 guys who are translating every word 5 times. So you said it's simply not possible. So it's really one of the key hurdles we see with the big brands today. We work on trying the Chinese market from a cross-border view. It's to choose the right partner. So that's why we worked a lot on certifying partners according to the sector. If you're in a fashion or if you're in a house goods, it's not the same kind of proficiency for marketing and for exposure. So it's really to choose the right partner there and to be able to identify that. It takes time, and it needs often to have Chinese resources inside your teams to be able to identify. That's the kind of service we offer to our client too.
Okay, thank you. So Dominik, you told us we the first regarding the areas of Moscow and St. Petersburg. Are there any other topics, important topics to know before starting to Russia?
I think I'm very data focused, and for example, I'm trying to think like a customer who wants to enter the Russian market. As you are very familiar in Western Europe with Google, you should use, for example, Google Global Market Finder, who is familiar with this tool. So one, I repeat, Global Market Finder from Google. Did anyone use it so far? Or two? Okay, three. So you should. No, it's not nothing with map. It gives you a prediction of data which Google owns, and say if you are, for example, an e-commerce shop for let's say jeans, then you can enter jeans. You can see then the click prices, the search volumes in different regions of the world, and then you can focus on that if this is your business model. Or for example, if you have a customized goods, then you can compare where your competitors are and choose those countries where they are not currently present, how to enter market. So this tool gives you a very handy, very easy way to take a look into the markets, how much you have to spend, what kind of ads you should use, who is in the market, the click prices, which are important for your budget. For Russia, you can use this tool as well. Additional to that, you should use wordstat.yandex.com, because we have, of course, different data for the Russian market, and then you can compare the search volumes, the keywords, the suggested keywords which are necessary for your business. You can compare, for example, desktop to mobile data, and step by step you're getting into the market and to understand how people are searching or where the traffic is coming from. So those two tools I recommend you to, just in case you are thinking how to enter the market.
So you will have a presentation later on, so you will describe it there as well?
I have the presentation afterwards. We'll talk more in depth, but of course not about Google, as we are focusing on our products and to develop them more. But of course, I give a recommendation how to do it, and every question you have on your mind, please let me know. So this is very easy. As mentioned before, for example, with Lengow, you can talk directly with the German or French team, ask them how your shopping feed should look like. With translation, you should translate your pages. For example, in Russia, it's necessary, at least at Yandex and through the legacy, that you use ruble as prices. This is not that difficult anymore to change it in your e-commerce shop. So in general, you should localize, the more the better, but do not do over-localization, because maybe it is not worthwhile for the market, or your goods are not taken there.
Okay, thank you very much. So coming to the new point, because everybody of us needs the consumer as our customer before buying the stuff. And in the small discussion in front, we talked about the intercultural differences between the European consumers and the Russian and Chinese consumers using content, or in other point of your experience. So could you give us some examples about the intercultural difference about consumers in China or in Russia regarding Europe?
Or globally. Before I do that, I would like to build on what he said. Dominik said you can put on rubles and translate your website, but I think it's very important that you also manage expectations. It's not enough to translate your online shop into Russian and put rubles on it, because now you make the user expect that you also get support in Russian. So you have to build up the internal infrastructure as well, and just to not have the customer disappointed in a way that it is perceived as a Russian store, but the truth is there's a French guy behind this who doesn't speak the language, and you fail in support and you fail in customer satisfaction. I think this is very important to remember, that it's not enough, your website ain't going to do the job for you. Answering your question, Traditionally, I believe, or I used to believe before I started at Semantics, that you should go to this country and spend a significant time there and get to know the people and learn on location from real people how they are, how they tick, what's the thought construct behind them, just figure them out. I believe that by now, since I started at AX Semantics and I just recently changed to AX Semantics, I believe that this might be possible to replace with strict A/B testing. That you can really have two versions of your copy. I mean, it's just a mouse click and generated automatically, and then you can multiply this in the thousands, and then you can do strict A/B split testing to figure out what works and what doesn't. Now, with A/B split testing in general, you have to be careful, because if you too much A/B split test, you end up with a porn site. But keeping this learning loop and just doing your little experiments and trying things out, and having people from the country on your team and actually really listen to them and follow their advice, and then back it up with verified learning, I think that's way faster road than spending a lot of time in every single market to understand the people.
Okay, thank you very much. So Dominik?
Actually, this was a very good point, because we see as well, for example, online shops who just translate their services. And as you know, rating on the internet is very important as trust signals as well. So we figured out that some shops, they're saying we are 24 hours open, you can contact us, but people are trying to contact those shops and there is no one who speaks Russian at all. So then the shops say our traffic is less or nobody is ordering anything, and then it comes to if you make all the review screening, for example, as well on Yandex Market, people can rate the shop. They're writing, okay, I ordered something, it wasn't delivered. I ordered something, it was saying 5 days delivery. Since 14 days, I do not have received the package. Returning is an issue for many companies. So ratings are getting more powerful, like they are already, and Russians also rely on ratings. So those kind of things you shouldn't ignore. So if you present yourself as a Russian store, you should be aware that you have the resources to deal with all your inquiries or recommendations which you get from your shop users. So I fully agree with this point.
Okay, thank you. Stay there because, or we can start here regarding the consumers. Do you have some insight regarding the consumers? What's important for the consumer? So, is there the customer support that they can contact you 24 hours, or is it the return policies? So, what do you think are very important to know about the consumer customer in Russia?
The consumer in Russia is actually, that's based on the mentality in Russia. They really need, and this is the main difference to Germany, if you order something in a Russian online shop, it will be confirmed by a hotline. Someone calls you back and confirm all the order details, your address and so on. And this personal contact, especially for Russians, is very important. There are, I don't know a shop who hasn't a hotline who will not confirm your order. So it will be called back, and after just the confirmation via the hotline, it will be provided to the fulfillment center and so on. So your order won't be processed without this confirmation. And for Russians, actually, this personal contact to the shop via hotline, also regarding returns. If you have, if you actually want to don't want this product anymore, want to give it back, actually it is very important to have this personal contact, not with this bureaucracy, not with filling in questionnaires and so on. The Russians calls, they want to call a hotline and want this personal contact to solve their issue. And I think this is a very important point on the Russian market.
Okay, Nenad, you said you need a very long description. maybe colorful, a lot of pictures and something like that. Are there other things we, the consumer, expect from the seller?
Yes, for the most important thing for European merchants selling in China is about the fact to respect the delay of delivery and the quality of a product, because you have no chance if you want to sell in China based, for example, on pricing. Chinese consumer today, what they search with European brands, it's quality. It's some sense of quality, especially for some very sensitive category. For example, they buy a lot of children foods and things like that because they're not trusting the local products. And they're buying a lot of luxury goods. So the quality of a product, the quality and the respect of delivery time are very, very important, because this is a key asset you have. They're not searching after a low discount or something like that on this kind of product. The key KPIs are really about the respect of these high standards they see in European brands.
Okay, thank you very much. Something else in Russia regarding to have a support, a call support?
There may be two more tools which I recommend you to take a look at it. It's Yandex Webmaster Tools. So for all those who are dealing how to rank on search engines better or understand how your data are structured. It's especially for the Russian market or CIS countries. So, very important. The Webmaster Tools, our Webmaster Tools are for free. And there is one thing what is maybe important for your content writers or search engine optimization folks. When you write a content, especially in product categories, you are thinking other platforms are grabbing your content. If your website is not powerful enough, then you have to, for example, fight that you rank with your original designed content better. And in worst case, you are not ranking with your content at all. Therefore, our product team developed something very special, that when you write a unique text, then you can have a checkbox and saying if the text is like longer than 5,000 characters and 30,000 characters, then you can say to the search engine, we are the first ones who has written such kind of text. And then you send it to the search engine, and the search engine, if it's true, will flag it, and no matter how many other websites will copy your text, at least we know that you are the content or the original content creator, and this helps your shop, for example, to rank, I wouldn't say to rank higher, we are not giving the guarantee for it, but you are flagged as the content owner or original one. This gives your resources a lot of more space to breathe. Also for the Russian market, Yandex Metrika is a tool that is very necessary if it comes to audience tracking or remarketing, retargeting stuff. Then you can do it with Yandex Metrika, very easy, and then also analyzed with a couple of services like WebVisor. You can see live the movement of your users, how they behave on the website, when they are leaving the website, and then you can optimize more and more the website for not only for the search engine, but especially for the user, that they buy more products at least. So those are kind of steps. And for market, we have several competitors on that market. Take a look at it. For example, e-payment is a huge thing in Russia, because in Russia people love cash on delivery. Cash on delivery currently is a little bit decreasing, and credit cards are rising up as well, like e-payment. With an e-payment, of course, that makes us a little bit different than others. We offer Yandex Money. Yandex Money has as well a huge brand trust in the market, because people are paying with this service, for example, taxi. And you can imagine how the market, how Russia is changing dramatically in a positive way. As I traveled like many years ago, the first time to Russia, you waited for a taxi up to 45 minutes or 1 hour 15. Then Yandex launched Yandex Taxi. We have as well competitors like Get or Uber as well in the market. Then you just have to wait for a taxi for 15 minutes. And if you can realize the difference, waiting for a taxi 45 or 1 hour 15 to 15 minutes, it decreased. Nowadays, we are even below 6 minutes. And this is a service what people are paying by credit card or e-payment. China is even further than that, even further than Western Europe or in some parts of the US as well. So the markets are changing in the manner people are realizing that those services help to organize their life much easier, and you as a brand or company, you can take the advantage as well on it.
Okay, thank you very much. So I would like, before ending this discussion, I would like to open the floor. So we have time for 2 questions. So maybe, do you have questions to 1 or 2 of them?
Anyone? Oh.
How about selling services to these markets? So not selling stuff, but services.
So how about selling services rather than physical goods? Is that different?
No, I haven't any experience in selling services.
Services less. I just came in my mind. Selling software, actually, now you have to pay VAT for it. This new upcoming regulation, but services, I'm not experienced in that. Maybe Dominik.
What kind of service you have on your mind?
Like consultation.
So sending consultants to...
Consulting.
Okay, but this is like the typical B2B business model, and for companies, for example, or good examples, Salesforce selling their products as well into the market. KPMG, Boston Consulting Groups, they are also focusing on the market and selling services, no physical goods. So this is, if you are expert in terms of what you want to sell to for example, to the Russians. For example, you want to sell them services, how to enter Germany or Spain, for example, because you have the expertise. Of course, you can target those companies in Russia as well and offering your B2B service and not physical good. But be aware, traveling to Russia, you need a visa, etc. pp. So it's not that easy as well, but not impossible. So this is nothing what is new.
Not all services are rendered on location. Not all services are rendered on location. There are services that can be offered online. Language learning, possibly also consulting. I think nobody buys a product, everybody buys a solution. And in today's e-commerce world, the difference between services and tangible products is sort of disappearing, evaporating. Whatever you sell today, you have to sell more than the product. You have to sell a solution. You have to sell the service around it, be it support, be it the logistics behind it. If you have a product that you can actually sell without shipping something, you have a huge advantage. I would go about this like selling any other product, and being aware that you don't have to ship it, you don't have to pack it, you don't have to deal with customs. Of course, still valid about payment methods, and still valid about marketing this, and being culturally compatible. But I wouldn't distinguish too much between tangible and intangible products. Is intangible a word?
Also, if you think of services like Booking.com, Airbnb, they are very successful in the market. Recently, the last analysis, what I have seen for the car rental segment, grew from 2015 to 2016, based on our data by 22%. This is huge. When people are thinking Russia is decreasing, no, it isn't. So you can take a look at the presentation afterwards. In the afternoon, you will see there is a discrepancy what what we hear in media and what is the real reality. So go for services. If there's a demand, people will buy it, if the price is right, of course.
Next question.
Hello, first, thank you for your talk. I'm Damien from FoodSpring, and we have developed our own brand for fitness food, protein powder, healthy snacks, and we are now entering the Chinese market as well. And my question to you is, if we've met the requirements for a Tmall Global Shop, what would you advise to be the first step for a new brand entering Tmall Global directly, or Taobao, or even WeChat channels, like doing WeChat promotions, because WeChat offers e-commerce as well? Like, what would be your advice for all of us here if we do the first steps? Did someone understand the question? Yes, sure.
Yes. Yes, the social media in China is far more important than in Europe. Essentially, for one thing, I always quote one situation when I met one of the big brands in China in the fashion industry. And the lady was managing the marketing there told me, if a client posts a comment on a buy they make on my site on WeChat, I generate 14 sales with this post. If you're a little bit used to discussion about social media in Europe, you always hear, okay, I have some nice likes on my Facebook page which make an engagement through this blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. The point is WeChat is a selling tool in China. People are buying. Keep in mind that WeChat Chinese version incorporate a payment system, so you can pay directly onto it. So if you have a good bot, and Facebook today is launching a lot of bots in Europe too, but if you have a good bot system, you can sell directly. So the strategy to be on WeChat is key to make your brand awareness and to make people aware about your product, and it converts directly in sales. So it's a key element of a strategy like marketplaces. It's not only an advertising issue, it's really being able to engage your clients, because every client engaged generates sales.
Thanks.
So thank you very much. So as I've heard, it's very difficult to understand us. We want to close because most of you have a presentation afterwards as well. And so my last question is, if you want to start, or if you would start selling in Russia or in China, what are the 2 products you would sell?
I can talk about categories actually based on statistics. More than or about 32% in Russia actually a demand in foreign online stores. So what do people in Russia buy in foreign online stores? 32% are household appliance and electronics, and about the same amount, like 22% clothes and about 12% shoes. So these are the 2 main categories which are interesting in the Russian market.
There is a stat which says that there is in Shanghai more millionaire than all across the globe ever. So luxury for sure, but I think everybody knows about that. Aside from that, I would say baby milk powder and health products, which are the 2 most researched products by Chinese consumer on international brand. Everything about health, everything about young kids is crucial for them, and they buy huge volumes from overseas resellers.
Just to reiterate, because the audience is asking, we were saying about baby milk products and health products. They are really popular in China.
The categories in Russia are definitely like clothes, shoes, as well electronic goods and children goods. There is no specific product. I mean, if you work for a company and you believe in the product you are selling, then you can sell it, and not to any price, but to the market equivalent. So therefore, I love to work at our company and help others to succeed in the markets. Like, we also have to face daily challenges. So this is nothing specific.
I would give a general advice, no matter whether you're starting a business or starting to sell a specific product. If you start a business, if you start a startup, you're looking at 3, maybe 5, maybe even 10 years of your lifetime that you're going to devote to this. Pick something that you're really excited about, that you love, and pick something that's going to be bought by people you like to surround yourself with. Because 10 years is a long time, and just going for the money ain't going to make you happy.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here on the panel. Thank you very much for being here in the and trying to understand what we are telling. So if you have any questions, you can up to us now.